Presidential Report Card of Richard Nixon. Chief Legislator. Even though he cannot make laws, the President can share his opinion and have some influence over the lawmaking process. He can accomplish this through speeches and discussing policies with Congress. President Nixon passed the Public Health Cigarette Smoking Act, which limited smoking, banned radio and television ads for cigarettes, and required stronger health warnings on packs of cigarettes. He also passed an act that created the Environmental Protection Agency. However, he did not pass a lot of legislation during his time in office. What he did pass were smaller acts that didn't affect the entire nation. We must keep in mind, though, that Congress had a majority of Democrats, even though Nixon was a Republican. Nixon's overall grade for Chief Legislator is a B. Chief Executive. As Chief Executive of the United States, the President has the power to administer the laws and affairs of the nation through his executive agencies. President Nixon issued 346 executive orders during his time in office. He also issued 926 pardons, over 20% of the requests that he received. For his role of Chief Executive, President Nixon earns a C. Commander-in-Chief. The President is in charge of the U.S. Armed Forces. All military leaders report to the President and take direct orders from him. He does this even though he is not a member of the military, he is a civilian. An ideal president does not act rashly with foreign conflicts, has a close relationship with the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense, takes necessary steps to protect the nation from outside threats, and consults Congress on foreign affairs that need their approval. During President Nixon's administration, he sent an attack on the Viet Cong in a campaign called Operation Menu, and could not get a military budget approved. He planned on keeping troops in the war, although the Case Church Amendment prevented it. President Nixon earns a D for his role as Commander-in-Chief. Guardian of the Economy. The President has no control over the economy, but it is expected that because of the President, it will run smoothly. The President worries about unemployment, taxes, and business profits to determine the general economic prosperity of the country. Nixon created a new economic program which ended the convertibility of gold to the dollar, resulting in the stimulation of exports. He enacted a 90-day freeze on wages and prices, which halted and soon slowed down inflation. His administration stimulated the economy and brought it out of its previous bad state. He wanted a tight budget and a restrictive monetary policy, and created a tax bill which removed 2 million of the country's poor from tax rolls, which was unsuccessful. For his role as Guardian of the Economy, Nixon receives a C. Chief of Party. The President also acts as the Chief of Party. In this role, he helps members of his political party seek election or appointment by giving them his endorsement. He may also campaign for re-election with the help from his party. After a long line of Democrats, Nixon was elected as a Republican by referring to the blue-collar working class as the silent majority. His most famous speech, the Checker speech, was a political triumph. However, this speech was mainly an apology about his finances, which was not good for the party. Nixon receives a C for his role as Chief of Party. Head of State. In this role, the President represents the United States at public events. Generally, this role is more ceremonial to promote American ideals and acknowledge other nations that do the same. A good president presents at large important events, represents American values, and acknowledges and supports countries that do the same. The public generally had a very negative opinion of Nixon. He was seen as strange and uncomfortably shy. On the first televised debate, his looks put him at a disadvantage. And in 1999, after his presidency, tapes were leaked of Nixon saying that most Jews are disloyal. President Nixon failed his role as head of state. Chief Diplomat. In this role, the President works with Congress and other nations to create effective foreign policy. Nixon was able to avoid war by becoming allies with the Soviet Union and China, which became known as triangular diplomacy. He also eased post-Cold War tensions with communist countries. President Nixon received an A for his role as chief diplomat. And finally, keeping secrets. President Nixon was involved in the Watergate scandal, which caused the major distrust in government from the American public and ultimately prompted him to resign from his office. He also hid vital information from the public regarding the state of crisis. President Nixon receives an A+ in the area of keeping secrets.